All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first ever MHOWE9's Fishtanks live stream. So right now we are in the only table in the barn right now. So I'll probably set up something a little bit better, but we're going to and get started. So the first person to the chat ever was William Alvarez. So we'll welcome William and welcome to the live stream. I see Jeremy's here from Sergeant Tank. Welcome, Jeremy. We'll give it a couple minutes. And see Bob here from Steenfot Aquatics. Welcome, Bob. It was nice meeting you at the Aquatic Experience. And Jeremy, obviously, it was nice seeing you last weekend in Chicago. So I'll give it a minute or two, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So to thank you guys for coming out. This was a little bit impromptu. Let me know how the audio and video are. So there was a lag earlier when I was playing around with it. It seemed to go away. So let me know. All right. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thanks, Bob. Good. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about me. And if you guys have any questions, just post them in the chat and we'll go ahead and I'll answer them. So basically, I've been in the fish keeping hobby pretty much all my life. 10 years or so, I've been really serious about it. I've really done a lot in the saltwater side. So my experience really is in saltwater. And then over the last year and a half or so, I started doing freshwater. And honestly, the freshwater seemed to actually pull me out of, I was kind of in a rut with my hobby at that point. I was kind of bored with it. I was really into the captive breeding aspect of the saltwater hobby. And that is a real, it can be really not a lot going on because it's hard to get the fish to spawn. And then when they do spawn, it's difficult to raise the fish. And I really wasn't getting anything to spawn. So it was honestly, I was getting kind of bored with it. So at that point, I started kind of watching YouTube, started watching all of the freshwater channels, kind of got interested in that, started dabbling around in that. And so now I have kind of a 50-50 setup, both fresh and saltwater. So that's really about me in a nutshell. And I'll really go on record and say the freshwater side really kind of brought me back into the hobby. And now I've really gotten both. Talk a little bit about the fish barn. This is the fish barn. This is probably the worst spot in the fish barn to live stream. As you can see behind me here, there is a chop saw. So we're literally in my work area. If I do some more of these, I'm going to actually sit it somewhere else with some fish tanks with some fish behind it. So it looks a lot better. So I started building this back in March. If you follow the Corvus Oskin channel at all, you've seen me on there building the progress of the fish barn itself. It's really gone faster in a way than I thought. In some ways slower. I got most of the building done 4th of July weekend or so, but then setting the fish tanks up, moving the fish took a lot longer than I thought. There's still things I have to do in here. Downstairs, I have to really move around, really do some wire management and stuff like that. So the fish barn's coming along. Everything's pretty well ready for winter. I spent some time today doing some of the last insulation work in here, make sure it's all settled for the winter. I put in the house, actually, I did put in a frost-free faucet, which basically is kind of my backup if my pipes freeze going out here. So one of the things I really focused on building the fish barn was I really needed to have a backup plan for everything I could think of that went wrong. So for example, if the pipe freezes, I can use the frost-free spigot that's outside, and I can actually run water in here with a garden hose. It's not ideal, but it would work. I've done that in the past. Things like the heater, for example, Right now, this is heated with a what is it? It's a lost my train of thought, but it's basically like a 21 amp, 5,000 watt electric heater. It's run on 240, but it's if that fails, the power goes out. I do have a backup propane heater, which I am going to use as the backup. And then I actually purchased two 40-pound propane tanks in the, and I have those in the garage. I need to get them filled, but that's the backup there. So basically, I really went through this and said, okay, what are the basic things that could fail in the fish barn, and what were they? And truth be told, this is Fish Barn 2.0. Back in about 2011, 2012, I had tried to do the fish barn. I'd learned quite a bit since then, but sorry, it's getting late. It's late for me here in the East Coast. It's about 9:21, so bear with me for a second. So Fish Barn 1.0, basically it failed. What happened was I had a pellet heater, and I'd use that as the heat source, and that really didn't work. It never really worked right. I couldn't get the pellet heater to work, and so it ended up being kind of a failure, and I kind of just left it be from, call it 2012 all the way to now, and then I basically rebuilt it. So if you guys have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead here and talk about some other things that are kind of going on in here, and some of the things that are coming up on the channel. One of the things coming up on the channel pretty soon is the Clownfish breeding 2.0, or episode 2, sorry, where we're going to put a really focus on how you actually do it. The first episode was really talking about the process, how it works, how clownfish work. And now we're really going to go into the brass tacks, and that will come out on Thursday. So be watching for that. That's going to be a really interesting episode. And we actually did film the hatch. The fish hatched last night. Everything seems to be looking good. They are very difficult to see, but everything looks good. Looks like Gone Mad has just joined us. Welcome, Eric. Eric, we were just going through a little bit about the fish barn and kind of my experience in the hobby. I think we talked a little bit in Chicago, but I've basically done a lot on the saltwater side, and now I've kind of moved kind of 50-50 fresh and salt. One thing I do want to touch on a little bit. Hi, Candy's here as well. So welcome, Candy. Glad you could join us. So we just kind of, and JH Aquatic. So we got people piling in now. So and you just had a comment. Thanks. Nice to see you streaming. Yes, this is the first time I had today off of work, so I had a little bit of a chance to play with with my computer, and I purchased a camera and a microphone a little while back, and so I haven't really had a chance to play with it. I've been busy. Things have been busy in here, so today was a good day to do it. We get election day off here. It's not a state holiday, but where I work for one of the auto companies here in Detroit, and they basically, due to the union, they give everyone the election day off depending on the year. Like next year, we probably won't have it off because it's not a Senate presidential election. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So for you guys who just joined us, I kind of went through a real quick rundown of my experience in the hobby. So I'll make it quick for the guys who've already been here, and gals. But basically, I've been serious in the hobby for about 10 years. I focus really hard on the saltwater side. I am the treasurer of the Marine Life Aquarium Society of Michigan, which really the thing that does now is it really runs the Marine Breeding Initiative, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But that's really where my focus was for probably the first 8 of the 10 years I was in the hobby. I met some people who were into saltwater. I did the reef tank thing for a while, and then I did I got interested in the captive breeding of clownfish at the time, and people have gone way back into people are doing angelfish, butterfly fish now. I mean, it's gone a long ways. So I'll hit back on the captive marine breeding thing in a minute. Candy said she misses her reef tank. Can't wait to get it back. I really hope you do get it back at some point. If you ever need any help, I'd be happy to help you. Yeah, I'm kind of torn on a reef tank. I kind of go back and forth. I have a, I don't want to call it. I have a, Q Aquatics is in here. Hi, Susie. How are you? So I have a 120-gallon plywood tank right now that I could set up into a reef tank, but I just haven't gotten myself there yet. I think I've got too many things going on right now, especially with the Clownfish Hatch. For those of you who don't know, I did have clownfish spawn, and they did finally hatch last night. I did get some video of it. I don't know how good it would turn out because they're microscopic, so I don't have a microscope, and since it's the first time, I really don't want to pull the fry out and sacrifice one to put it under a microscope and take a picture of it. So with that being said, they are doing well. I do have them in the green water, so everything's good there. The video for that will be coming out on Thursday. So Thursday morning, my videos normally come out. So that video will be coming out Thursday. It's basically part 2 of the how to breed clownfish. So if you're ever into that, it's very entertaining. Welcome, Cole Schramm. Welcome to the first ever MHOWE9's Fishtanks live stream. So I do want to talk a little bit about the Marine Breeding Initiative for a minute. It's something that I've been involved with since it was started. It was started by 2 people named Tal Sweet and Matt Pedersen. Some of the freshwater people may have heard of Matt Pedersen. He now is I think he's the senior editor of MHOWE9's magazine. So he Tal Sweet. I was involved in it a little bit. There was a couple other people from our local club that got involved in it. But we basically started a Marine Breeders Award program. And I'll type in the website name right now, so if you guys are interested. So I didn't pull a link up before the show started. So, but what that is basically it's the only, to my knowledge, the only Breeders Award program in saltwater. We took a one from Florida that was way back. I think it was in the 1960s or 70s, and we were able to come up with basically a point system, and it's international. So anyone can go on the website and actually fill out and document how you bred your fish. And a lot like a freshwater program, there's award levels and things like that. And we have an annual conference every year in the Detroit area here in Michigan, where we basically have 4 speakers. They come for it's a day-long show. They come, they talk about what they've bred. We've had Kevin Barton, who's bred the blue tang. We've had the people who bred the yellow tang out in Hawaii come. So it's been a pretty interesting show. And captive breeding has come a long way in the saltwater world. When we started the show, this year will be the 10th anniversary. The first year of the show was literally how to build a fish room. So Matt Pedersen gave a talk on how to build a fish room. It was very, it was very interesting at the time. It still is, but now it's really gone to, how do you breed a clownfish? What's a rotifer? What's it, how does all of that work? To now, there's people from the Columbus Zoo breeding angelfish in pretzel containers. There's things like that. So it's a very interesting thing to be involved with. I'm not anywhere near that level. If I get a couple of clownfish to survive from this clutch here, I'd be very happy. The last time I've tried raising clownfish was about 5 years ago or so. But going back to the MBI a little bit, so basically, like a freshwater award program, you can really get the points, and then you get various levels. I just saw David Gillickson just join. Welcome to the first ever live stream here. So it's very, it's a very interesting thing to go check out. We're doing some work right now on the website. Hello, Real Tanks. David Gillickson just asked if we were in a bomb shelter. No, we are in the fish barn, but we are in probably the worst part of the fish barn. So we are in the upstairs of the fish barn, and I'll see if I can take the camera. I don't know if I can, but it's literally, we're in my work area of the fish barn. So I will come up with a better place to put this. I have some 75-gallon tanks that if I scoot back over here that are right over there. And so I have some space where I could put a little bit of a desk, and I could put something over there, sit those tanks up and get it going. Those were the tanks I broke. Yeah, I am not a drywall expert. And honestly, this ceiling, when I did this in the barn, was a complete pain in the neck. I was going to say something else, but I forgot we were live. So, yeah. So basically, I did this all by myself, and I don't own the drywall holder. So it had to be done, like, I had to cut the drywall sheets up in pieces to do it. So it was really, it is what it is. As if it's a fish barn, it's not a, it's not a very, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing up here. The downstairs looks a lot better, but this, just because of how I had to lay the drywall up. So let me flip the camera for a minute. I'll show you the ceiling. Yeah, see, that's really bad, but it's angled, if you could tell. So it's really, really angled. And so, like, I don't have the strength to, like, hold the piece of drywall up and drive screws in it at the same time. I'm not Joey or Zenzo, so I don't have the arm strength to do that. So, yeah, this is like the worst spot on earth to do the live stream from. It's like the worst spot of drywall, and basically it's just like work area, saws, and everything else around here. But this is what I had, and I figured, you know what, let's just go live. It is what it is. And it's about the content and the information. And this is, eventually we'll have a MHOWE Studios, but not right now. So where were we? We were talking about a little bit about the MBI. One of the cool things I found on that site that's kind of fun is, like, when you do a species, there's like four different, basically you have to get 4 different levels in order to get the species completed. So basically, in my first video, I talked a little bit about this. Let me grab a drink of water for a minute. So you have to get the spawn, you have to get the hatch, then you have to get it through metamorphosis. So all of most of them anyway, go through most of the marine fish go through a metamorphosis like a butterfly. So right now, the clownfish larvae that are back over here in the tub, they're microscopic. They're pretty hard to see, but they're basically a little larva, and then they go through this metamorphosis where they actually, like, settle out into the reef if they were in the wild. So they basically then turn into a real fish. So it's a really interesting thing to see. And a lot of times when you're breeding them, that's where you'll see a lot of your losses, because it's a really stressful time on the animal itself, because it's changing from this basically like mosquito larva type creature into a real fish. So it's a real tough on the animal as well. So you have to get through that process, and then you have to keep it alive for another 60 days to finally get the species. So that's one of the really interesting. Then you get a little icon under your name, basically that you bred that species. So you'll get like a little Banggai cardinal, a little clownfish, etc. So it's a pretty neat thing to have. And then we do have an award program. So it's pretty neat. So does anyone have any questions on the captive breeding or the fish barn? Does anyone else have any other further questions about anything. All of a sudden, I'm getting a bunch of notifications for my email. So, all right, you know what I'll do is let me go grab. I'll show you guys a rotifer real quick. So let me go grab a rotifer, or a bunch of rotifers. It'll be about 1 million. There's OG's Fish Room just joined. Welcome to the first ever live stream. All right, so here is a rotifer. So if you can see very close to the camera, if you can see all the little specks going around in there, those are the rotifers. And those are the first food for the clownfish. So I actually was not able to get these on film earlier. Basically, I didn't pull them out. Oh, it's even getting better now if I pull it back a little bit. So all of those little specks are the rotifers. And those are what the clownfish eat. So, and then I actually brought this over too, since I just fed these before we started. This is the algae. So I kind of found using this little container was kind of useful for dosing the algae. So JH Aquatics just asked, will you be at Aquashella if they're doing it in Texas this year? I don't know yet. If it's in Chicago, absolutely, because that's literally 5 hours for me. Texas would be, I'd have to work on it, depending on the time of year, too. My wife's a teacher, and so being gone on the weekends, I have to work that out with her. If it's in Dallas, which I've heard rumors that it would be in Dallas, I would possibly go. My aunt, I have a whole bunch of family in the Dallas area. Kind of a funny story at our wedding. One of my dad's sisters, who's my Aunt Penny, was going around our wedding, literally trying to get everyone in the wedding to move to Texas. So I have a lot of people I could stay with in Texas. I don't know if I'd go or not. It depends on the timing. So yeah, I heard of the two of them. If there was two, I would probably skip the Dallas one just because of all the trips. I mean, this year it was pretty. I wasn't really expecting to go on too many trips, and then I ended up going on 3. And historically, I'd always gone to Macna's, and I haven't been in probably about 3 years now or so. So that's I don't know. The problem was it was really the beginning of the school year. My kids were going to school, and so they used to have it on Labor Day weekend, which was good for me. But a lot of people, I guess, didn't like it, so they've moved it. This year, it actually is back on Labor Day weekend in 2019. So I may go to that. I'm not sure yet. I have to work out my schedule for next year. So what other shows are you guys looking for next year? I'm kind of eyeing again. I really do want to go out to Seattle for the AGA. I really would like to go out there. I've never been out to Washington, so really would like to do that one. I would like to do the ALA again this year as well. I really enjoyed that show. It was kind of a smaller show, and sometimes I really do like the smaller shows. It's a little more intimate, a little bit more personal. It was a lot of fun this year in Grand Rapids. Learned a little bit about Gadiads, which was something that I really didn't have a lot of knowledge about until I went. And it's really funny. Gone Mad says, pick us up in Chicago if you drive to Washington. I am not going to drive to Washington. I will take a plane. Washington is out of range for the dad van, unfortunately. So, yeah, Washington, actually New Jersey was kind of out of range for the dad van too, but we made it work. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to fly to Washington. I'm not going to drive. I did spend in college. I did take a bus out to the Rose Bowl in 1997. I went to the University of Michigan for my undergrad for college, and then we went to the Rose Bowl that year. And so a bunch of guys grabbed a tour bus, two tour buses, and we had about 90 people go. And we drove cross country from Ann Arbor, Michigan to Los Angeles, California. And it was a very interesting trip. At that time, 20 somethings, drinking and partying and all that lasted till about Chicago. And then it was just horrible. So I will not drive or ride that far ever again. I remember my parents paid for part of the trip as like my Christmas gift. And I had basically, I think, woke up in like New Mexico with like leg cramps and all kinds of things. And I called my dad and like demanded that he fly me home at like 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. It was pretty bad. And then, and then it was pretty funny because the guys that organized the trip didn't look at the location of the hotel, and the hotel was not in the best area. So the two tour buses pull up after being on the road for 2 days, and there were people coming out of the buildings from everywhere. So they were coming out from basically from every building. You could buy anything you wanted, from illegal substances, we'll call it, to fake IDs, to anything you wanted. So it was actually funny. A couple guys did sell their Rose Bowl tickets, and they went to Vegas with the money. And apparently they had lost all their money in Vegas, and they ended up taking the Greyhound home from Vegas back to Ann Arbor, which was incrementally worse than the tour bus. I think it took them 4 days or something, while the tour bus took 2. Turbo Fish says, "Hey man, some illegal substances are fun like dynamite." That's pretty funny. That is super funny actually. But yeah, no, I don't know. That was a little bit of a sketchy area. So I'm down to buy an RV for the Fish Fam Roadshow. My dad has like a 6-person like camper, but it's like one of the pop-up ones. So I don't know if they let you like just open those up in the rest area or not. But honestly, since it's in May and my wife's still in school, there's a time element too. So, and we're gonna go to Germany next year, so I need to kind of watch my vacation days next year too. So we're gonna take my wife teaches German, and so we've never been to Germany together, and so we're gonna go to Germany, take the kids, and have a little bit of a family vacation. So Turbo Fish Fam Roadshow sounds fun. Does anyone have any fish questions? If you want to ask me anything about either saltwater or freshwater, if you have anything. I do think the RV is kind of funny. Yes, it'd have to be one of those big ones though. I think one of those, like, I don't know why Taylor Swift popped into my head, but one of the concert ones, all decked out. I'm getting cynical in my old age, I guess. Oh, that'd be cool. A Fish Fam tour across the country for a year. That would be cool. Just spend a year visiting fish rooms. That would be awesome. If I would actually do that if I didn't have family, job commitments, and everything else. That would be something I would do. Lives on the water, buy one of those to transform. Oh, like a duck. Yeah, I heard those duck boats were not the best in the world. I think they had one, like, I think it went down in Missouri or somewhere. So it's about 9:45 here. The duck boat flips. Yeah, they're not the safest. And I thought they were like from like World War II or something too. I'm not scared of anything but drowning. Yeah, me too. We I fish occasionally, and there's a lake that I fish over. It's about 10 or 15 minutes from here, and it's super weedy. And there's every year there's a couple people that do something stupid. They jump off the boat and don't make it up. It's really unfortunate. They almost should really put signs on it. It is really, really weedy. And I don't fish there that often anymore. I kind of got sick of fishing there, but it's kind of it's like a public park. And so you get all kinds of, you can fish, you get fishermen, you get kayakers, you get all kinds of people. And depending when you go, it can get a little crowded and it gets a little bit, out of control. But anyway, I mean, that's, it's one of those lakes that you should actually fish in a kayak without a motor, because A, it's not that big, and B, with all the weeds, you can get a lot more places with a kayak. This is would a 55-gallon sump be too much for a 33-gallon long? No, that would be awesome, actually, because honestly, like from a aquascaping and footprint perspective, the 55 gallons are like the most god awful tanks ever. They're super tall and super narrow, and they're literally like, I don't know, they're just not a good tank. I get why people like them, it's a 4-foot tank, but I honestly like the 40 breeder better. That's my personal preference, but if it's just me, does anyone else get more excited about the sump than the actual tank? I, for one, no, but I run very plain Jane sumps. I literally run the most even with the saltwater stuff I have, I run the most basic sump that I think anyone does. It's literally basically like a Rubbermaid, like Zenzo did a video on one of them. It's a 55-gallon Rubbermaid-esque, call it, or Rubbermaid-esque, basically tote. And I run saltwater, freshwater, and a lot of things with that. So I really just use that. I mean, they're really, I don't want to use the word ghetto, but I'm going to, because it's late and that's what I got. Oh, Flint's Fish Forum's here. Hello, Flint. How's it going? So, yeah, it's really, some. I've been really thinking about kind of upgrading at least on my saltwater stuff, some of the sumps, but I haven't gotten there yet. I'm going to be cheap and just not spend the money. But I mean, there's a really high-end sump builder around here that he does. I don't know if you guys have heard of a company called Bashi. Actually, I think Joey went there. He's been around here a couple of times. The guy he does collabs with for the reptiles, he's a couple of towns over from me, so he's been around this area a couple of times. And I think the first time he was here, he went and saw their shop. I've never been in their shop, but I've run into them at Mac's and stuff. I know who they are, but it's kind of, they make really high-end sumps, kind of like the guy Joel talks about in Seattle, and the guy who built Corey's tank. Very similar, kind of a custom aquarium shop. I'll type in his website name here if you guys are interested. But a lot of people in the salt, he makes skimmers and he makes sumps. I think he does make tanks as well. So Flynn is doing well. He's cleaning the fish room. There's too many spiders. Yeah, I like spiders too, actually. My kids hate them, but I personally like spiders. They're pretty cool. So, I mean, we get a lot of mosquitoes around here. So I say bats, spiders, they're all good. They eat the mosquitoes. the cats like to chase the spiders as well. We have 3 cats here. So, ooh, Turbofish found a dragonfly larva today. I bet you I have some of those around here too. We have quite a few dragonflies that come around. Not this time of year, but summertime. We've got quite a few around here. But yeah, they I personally like spiders, but the rest of my family really doesn't. So I get to go be the spider killer. Let's see, and then the dragonflies. See if there's anything else in the chat. David Gillickson likes the mechanical aspect, the functionality, the refugium. Yeah, I would agree. I'm a very big fan of sumps. I've actually become a big fan of hang-on backs too. Some of the fish downstairs I've been running. Fancy Tail Aquatics has joined us. Welcome to the live stream. Yeah, I've heard that too about dragonfly larvae, that they're kind of bad news. So yeah, there's excuse me. Sorry, I was up. Oh yeah, the hang-on backs. So downstairs, I've been running a few hang-on backs down on some of the tanks as well. I'm almost looking at them as like mini sumps. So I've got a few AquaClear 70s down there, and I really like them. I am not a fan of canister filters. Part of the reason is I like to have things that I can see. So if it's like shoved away in a cabinet and basically closed up, I won't touch it. I just don't. That's just how I am. If I don't have it like sticking at me, staring me in the face that says do something about me, it's out of sight, out of mind. So I am not a fan of canister filters. I will run a sump, hang on back, or something else instead. That's just my preference. There's nothing wrong with canister filters, but I don't know. So Turbo Fish. Oh yeah, snow Thursday night. So that means we're supposed to have snow Friday. So that would make sense because we normally get Chicago's weather the next day. So yeah, you can't wait between snow and JB winning. I'm not sure which punches me in the throat worse. I don't know who JB is. Justin Bieber, I guess. Has anyone ever used a canister filter to raise fry? Oh, new governor of Illinois. Okay. Yeah, we're going to get a new governor here too. The old governor is the old governor is term limited out, so he's going to be gone. Actually, I had a friend who I went to college with who worked for him at one time. He had a company at one point, kind of a startup company, and a buddy of mine worked for him. So he was actually at his wedding. It was kind of interesting. It's Illinois; they're all crooks. I'm gonna not touch the politics stuff. I'm gonna let that go. David Gillickson, my last canister filter I ignored long enough that when I finally opened it, I had about 24 mature cherry barbs. Yeah, I had a guy that I used to play soccer. So I played soccer till about 4 or 5 years ago. But there was a guy that I played soccer with, and this was when I was still heavy into the saltwater side, that he had like the shrimp tank before shrimp were cool. He would have loved Joel because he had a 90-gallon planted shrimp tank. And it was only shrimp, and I think he had like a pleco or something in there, if I remember, because I went over to his apartment a couple times and helped him out. But yeah, he had cherry shrimp in there, and he had those cherry shrimp literally all over the place. He had them, they were in the tank, and then he had a canister filter. They were in the canister filter. So anytime someone says that, I think of him. He doesn't do the tanks anymore. He's one of these people. He plays soccer literally like 8 nights a week, so I don't think he has time for it. But yeah, it opened up. Yeah, that's cool with the cherry barbs. So when we get to 10 o'clock Eastern here, the lights are scheduled to go off here in the fish barn at 10. So we can keep going if you guys want, and then we'll just this light up here above us will stay on, but all of the fish lights will go off at 10. So I have everything in the fish room. It's one thing I've really not talked about much on the channel or at all. Is I have everything really set up on the Neptune Apex for my days in the reef keeping hobby. I've gotten got everything set up on that, and I've had that for probably 6-7 years, and it's one of the things that I love the most is the automation of it. It's kind of one of the things that keeps me involved in the hobby. I like kind of playing with it and kind of programming it, making it do different things. And it's something I honestly think should be more in the freshwater side. I don't know if I won't call this a rant, but if you have a large fish room, I think it's a requirement, like a filter or anything else. Where it'll tell you the temperature of your tanks. You can test. In saltwater, it tests salinity. It does the temperature. You can set it to have alerts. And someone actually did come out with saltwater. One of the big items is the. Someone came out with a alkalinity monitor for the Apex. I don't know if it's out yet or not. I can't remember. I think it is. It's a little bit difficult because there's a reagent in it. You've got to change the reagent every so often, but it will monitor your alkalinity every so often. JH Aquatics said, now there's the Felix. I'm kind of interested in that, actually. I saw that when Corey talked about it, and I want to see what's different than the Apex and how the fish disease tracking things work. And Jay says the Felix needs a lot more probes. Yeah, and I don't know. You can only do so many things with computers, and I know that the computers can track everything that's going on, but there's some benefit to experience and having the human eye look at things too. So it's pretty. I'm curious to see how it works. The water box just joined and said, "Hey, Mike. Hi, all. Welcome to the first ever live stream." So we've got 11 people in here. So thank you guys all for joining for sure. I kind of did this at the last minute, so I really didn't know how many people would show up, but I figured I'd give it a try. I was getting ready to set it up, and I saw that Lucas was live, and I was like, oh, I don't want to step on his toes, and so I kind of waited a minute, and it's like, I know he normally doesn't go very long, so I'm not going to pay $2.99 for it. Yeah, it is a lot of money. I spent a lot of money on mine, but if it died, it'd be hard to come up with the money. But now it's sort of it's kind of one of those things I don't want to go backwards. So I guess I would just shell out the $800 and buy a new one. All right, so I'm not ready to pay new tonight. Yeah, see if there's anything else. Illinois. Try to miss anything. You guys have any? So Waterbox asked. So what's $2.99? Waterbox, there's something coming out called the Felix. It's kind of similar to a Neptune Apex. Does some different things. There's some technology in it that apparently will track the swimming patterns of your fish and help you diagnose diseases and stuff. That will be. I just thought of something too. It'd be kind of interesting if it would track in saltwater the wrasses. A lot of the wrasses will bury themselves in the sand. And I wonder if it will track where the wrasses will bury themselves. So that's something I thought about. So we've been going for about 45 minutes. Oh, Waterbots, is that the one on crowdfunding? Yeah, that's the one that they're trying to crowdfund. Excuse me. It comes with the 3D camera. David Gillick's going to do a lot of work with computer vision and whatnot. I'm very skeptical. I can't talk. It's getting late. Skeptical of some of the claims they're making for Felix. Yeah, it has to be tested and have people play with it, etc. So so we've been going about 45 minutes. I'm going to go about another 15 or so, and then honestly, I had to get up for work tomorrow and go to bed, so it's getting a little late for me here. But do appreciate you guys coming out. So we'll go for another 15 minutes or so. So be the first hour. So after doing this for 45 minutes, I don't know how Corey does it for 8 hours. It should be, you must just sit here and just pound water. I've had a glass of water and it's almost gone now. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens when it comes out. I am curious too how it works. I'm sure it'll be a show somewhere next year. Maple Street Aquatics just joined. Welcome. How's it going? So, one thing I do want to talk about for a minute is I am going to my first local auction this weekend. There's the Motor City Aquarium Society, which I'm not a member of. So I haven't really gotten that involved in the club scene on the freshwater side. I just been busy. But I got invited to their meeting Thursday. I don't know if I'm going to go, but they're having an auction on Saturday, and I'm going to go to that. I went to the auction at the ALA for a while. That was pretty cool. So I am going to go and hang out a little bit at the auction. There's a couple fish I've kind of got my eye on. There's a couple of cichlids I saw at the aquatic experience that I really liked. And so I don't know if they'll be around. I know Turbofish has one of them. They're the Punamilia nairi, and I know I've said that wrong, but they're really cool. Waterbox's auctions are fun. I really bid, but it's fun to see how much things go. Yeah, I'm gonna try to hang out at the end. I really do need to get some more plants. Right now, I'm kind of full-ish on fish, but yeah, I'm really kind of looking for plants. And then the other one was it was Haplochromis Aniacolor, and that was the one that I think it didn't win best in show. The Discus did, but that fish was awesome as well. Maple Street Aquatics, I get lots of great deals around auctions in Michigan and Indiana. Yep, so I'm pretty near you. I think you're in Indiana. I'm out here in Metro Detroit. JH Aquatics, they had three shrimp for $5,000 at AE. Yeah, I don't know if I could handle that. Most expensive fish that I've heard of is the peppermint angelfish, and that's about $25,000. And that was, but that is basically due to the fact that someone has to dive for it with a rebreather and find it, and really, it's a dangerous thing for the diver, and it's a very dangerous thing in general for someone to go down as deep as that fish lives. I think they're down over 100 feet, so it's serious business. Maple Street water box or the shrimp pooping gold or something. That's pretty funny. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's basically it. I think the most that I've ever paid for a fish, and I shouldn't have done this either, is I paid $700 one time on a live aquaria for a pair of butterfly fish. and they were a pair of the long-nosed butterfly fish, and they ended up getting something, and they passed away. I was super pissed. So I don't do that anymore. I kind of, I don't know. And it was something, I bought them because they were the pair, and I won't do that again. That was a huge waste of money. But saltwater, you can get sucked into that, though, pretty easily. There's a lot of, something for fun one day if you guys are bored. Go into Live Aquaria and go into the diver's den and try to find like the most expensive fish. If I get bored at work, which is not very often, I'll go in there and start looking around and see if I can find find something like usually the good candidates are something like a conspict angelfish, some other things, which are captive bred now. Dr. Matt Wittenrich has started a company called Poma Labs, and they actually bred those, and pretty cool. They're super pricey. I think they're about 6,000-7,000 a piece, way out of my price range, but it's something that's very cool in the hobby. Yeah, I was trying to think of, got me thinking about the most expensive clownfish. The most expensive one I've heard about was the first lightning maroons. Those went for about 10 grand or so, but but now now you can get them for 30-40 bucks. So someone made an investment to get like the second breeding pair, and then how things work. It's how things work, and then next thing you know, it's a couple years later, it's 30 bucks. So Maple Street, saltwater is salty. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. One kind of funny thing about saltwater, though, is that salt creep can kind of be your best friend. It can stop leaks. As it stop leaks over time, it will. A lot of times, if you let it run, I've had this happen before, that you had this stubborn leak in your fish room, you can't get it, and eventually the salt creep will seal it. It's not obviously a recommended practice, but it has happened before. I'll be honest. All right, so we've still got 9 people here, so this has been a lot of fun, honestly. I didn't know how this would go. Like I said, I scheduled it sort of last minute, so I didn't realize if anyone would come, and so I'll probably do this again on a Tuesday night. Tuesday night's kind of a good night for me, generally, because my daughter has volleyball on Wednesdays, and honestly, a lot of other people live stream Wednesday and Monday, so I think Tuesday's kind of a quiet night. So this has been a lot of fun. You guys have any other questions? We've got about 5 or 6 minutes to go. David Gillickson, Candy, Tuesdays are pretty open for streams. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. It was kind of an open night, so I figured I'd grab the figure this out and see what I can do. Candy up from Montana, somewhere I'd like to go someday too. I was talking about Washington earlier. There was a guy I lived with in college for a while that he did the summer out in Glacier National Park. He went out there, and he was like the camp counselor for Glacier National Park. So that was apparently that was a pretty cool experience for him. He spent the summer out there. So yeah, every state seems to have something gorgeous. I mean, Michigan, it's, for those of you who've not been to Michigan, it's a lot about up north. The southern part of the state's pretty ho-hum, but if you go up north, you don't even have to go that far. It's a couple hours, and it's the scenery starts to get better. You kind of get out into the country. There's a lot of lakes. You can fish, camp, do that kind of thing. There's some if you go to areas kind of like Traverse City, Petoskey area, that gets a little bit more of the, it's a little pricey in that way. But if you go to the east side of the state, it's really not. David Gillickson, not Illinois, corn, more corn, and for a change of speed. Pretty funny. Actually, I was telling somebody this. I don't remember who it was. It was Oh, Gilkison. Sorry about that. So, yeah, for a while, my parents and I actually lived in Champaign, Illinois. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I will say probably the worst drive on earth is the drive between Chicago and Champaign, Illinois. It is literally, you get past Kankakee, and it literally is corn as far as the eye can see. And my parents actually have moved down there twice. They were down there when I was between first and fourth grade, and then they were, and then they moved down there like after I like moved out of the house and had a job and everything. They were like, "We're gonna move back down there." Okay, so I'd help my dad move down there, and yeah, that is the worst part. Every speeding ticket I've ever gotten is between Chicago and Champaign. I can see that. It's wide open road. It's literally, I don't really even think it turns. It's been a while since I've been down that way, but it's, from my memory, it literally doesn't turn. It's literally straight with corn, and you'll see a silo about every 30 miles or so, and then it'll be an exit. Will be an exit, and then you'll see another exit 30 miles. You hit Champaign, and I even think, and even when I lived there, I don't remember ever going south from there, but I think south from there is just as bad. I could be wrong. I've never been to Southern Illinois, so if anyone knows of that, it's nice now. They have signs along the road that tells you what kind of corn it is. Yeah, I remember those when I was down there. Like the agriculture companies would put, the Roundup, or I know it's not Roundup, but whatever company it is would have a little sign that would have the what type of corn it is and what the company is. 84 Moss, what's up, bro? I'm over here in Northern Illinois. Yeah, I'm in Metro Detroit, but quite a few people on here are from the Chicago area. So David Gilkison, Turbofish, and Gone Mad were on here. But yeah, so I was in Chicago last weekend. We had a fish fam meetup in the Chicago area. So that was a lot of fun. Did a one night stay. I think they're over like in the Hoffman Estates, Schaumburg-esque area. So that was a lot of fun. I wish I would have been able to stay overnight, but it just wasn't in the cards. Lindenhurst, close to Gurnee. Yeah, my best friend lived in Gurnee for a while. He just moved out of there. Probably about 2 or 3 months ago. He moved to West Lafayette. So I hadn't been to Gurnee. I didn't have a chance to go visit him when he was in Gurnee. But yeah, he was that way. So we got about 2 minutes left. Do you guys have any further questions? This has been a lot of fun, so I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys coming out. Still 8 people here, so it's been the first ever. So I want to thank you guys for coming out, supporting the channel, supporting me out here. It's been a favorite Disney princess. Favorite Disney. I will say my favorite Disney princess is whatever one my daughters like. So I'm going to answer your question by not answering it. You said I said any questions. That's true. Maple Street Aquatics. Thanks for the stream, Mike. Good for your first time. Candy, great stream, good info. I like that you're into salty too. Yes. Thank you, Candy. It was this was a lot of fun, so I really enjoyed it. So I'm definitely going to do it again. It was a lot of fun, hanging out here in an old garage with saws and everything. So I'll get to a better setup here in the near future. But this was kind of the first time. This is the only table we've got, so it's been a lot of fun. So JH Aquatics, yes, thank you for sharing. I love the real fish talk. Yes. So next one I will probably do again. I'll schedule something probably Tuesday again. I kind of like Tuesday. The 9 o'clock seems like a good time for me, personally, just because like I get the kids in bed and everything, and the house is kind of quiet at that point, and then I can kind of sneak out to the barn and get everything going out here. I'm glad the internet worked out here too. The signal has to go quite a ways from the house. It's about 30 or 40 feet, so it's pretty good, pretty good distance. So it's glad it turned out well. So with that, thank you guys for watching, and have a good evening. And we will see you on the next one. And I'm not going to steal anyone's thunder, but later. Okay.